All right. Are we all set then?
No, not
Ready to go.
taking a minute.
Oh, okay.
Jack,
don't have-
is that a Christmas tree behind you?
It is. We just moved into a new house this summer, and we got a very big Christmas tree for the first time.
Oh, that's exciting.
Nice.
So we're recording and we're live.
All right. Well, we'll call to order then the administration committee meeting at 6:30. And start with roll call. So I'll begin. Karen Wise, City of Ravenna. And do we have Mr. Brockett on?
No.
We don't have Mr. Brockett and we don't have Mr. Vitale.
Correct.
Okay, so we actually need 2
You're correct.
subs. Okay, well, why don't we, we'll give Mr. Brockett a minute as well. Why don't we just continue on with other Board of Trustee members that are present? Just introduce yourself.
Jeff Childers, Southern Portage County.
Dave in Middle Portage County.
Marvin Woods, Streetsboro.
Jack Murphy, City of Kent.
Okay, and then move on then to the PARTA staff.
Claudia Amrine, General Manager, PARTA.
Marsha Fletcher, PARTA.
Ryan Troutman, PARTA.
Kelly Jurish, PARTA.
Denise Bava, PARTA.
Clayton Popick, PARTA.
Rebecca Schrader, PARTA.
All right, do we have legal counsel?
Not yet.
Dave, feel free to advise me, but is this the proper time to ask?
I think it'd be appropriate to ask Jack at this time. So you have 3 board members.
Okay, so we've already invited Marvin Woods to be a voting member. Jack Murphy, would you please serve that function this evening as well?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so meeting minutes? No. Oh, I have the wrong agenda up. Sorry. Give me a second here. Or tell me what the first agenda item is.
Old business.
Old business? Do we have any old business?
No.
Sorry, guys.
The
Really did.
next is the new business, and there are 3 resolutions.
Yeah, that I'm prepared for. Okay, so no guest communications, no old business. Is there any new business? All right, hearing none. On to our resolutions, which is the big part of the meeting tonight. Our first resolution is number 2020-11-03, a resolution by the Portage Area Regional Transportation Authority Board of Trustees authorizing the general manager or her designee to enter into an agreement with Richard L. Bowen and Associates for architectural and engineering services. If I understand correctly, we evaluated 4 different firms via request for qualifications process. And
Karen, probably you should have a motion and a second and then discuss.
okay. So I'm asking for a motion to approve the resolution to the board or to discuss the
Make
resolution.
a motion to approve the resolution to the board.
Second.
I second that.
All right. So in summary, we want to approve this resolution to the board, the contract with Richard L. Bowen and Associates for architectural and engineering services for, it sounds like, a couple different improvement projects in 2021. Is there any discussion or questions about the resolution?
If you'd like, we can give a brief overview of the services that we'll be contracting for, that will be for multiple years and several projects as described in my report. But if anyone has any specific questions, we can address those.
I would go with the questions now and then allow for more discussion at the board meeting, Claudia.
Okay.
Does anyone need more information or have questions in order to approve the resolution or to vote on it? Okay, so all in favor of passing this resolution on to the board for approval?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I don't know what to do, so don't give it to me till we get it.
All right,
Don't
hearing
click on that. I don't want to join the meeting.
opposition, we'll move on to the next resolution. Number 2020-11-04, a resolution by the Portage Area Regional Transportation Authority Board of Trustees adopting the Public Transit Agency Safety Plan as required by the Federal Transit Administration. So is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
And a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. So, my understanding from the general manager's report that the safety plan includes, that we're asking to adopt, processes and procedures required for PARTA to comply with in order to continue to receive federal funding. And we need to approve and adopt by December 31st of this year. So this is sort of a time-sensitive resolution. There any questions or discussion or comments?
Kelly is prepared to give a little overview if you'd like to do that now.
I would defer the overview to the larger board.
Okay.
Unless there are questions or concerns from the committee members.
Karen, if we have time, I think it would be appropriate for Kelly to speak now. A lot of the nitty-gritty work is done at the board meetings, so that is done at the committee meetings, so that when they report to the board, they can report fully informed, and then any minor questions can be addressed there. So if you don't mind, I'd rather have Kelly
Present now.
because we do have time before the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
No. All right, thank you. So like you said, Karen, and like in Claudia's presentation and her report, the PTASP requires us to submit by December 31st. It was actually extended because of COVID, but it requires us to look at safety a little bit more holistically and through a measurement process. Safety has always been a top priority here at PARTA. In fact, we go by the motto of schedule before, or safety before schedule. I almost got that backwards. That would be so wrong. Safety before schedule. So in the PTASP, we focus on a safety management system framework to create and manage the plan. In the safety management system framework, we look at 4 target areas, which is our policy statement, our safety risk management, our safety assurance, and our safety promotion. Safety policy defines what we do here in our culture. It's looks at the measures that we take to communicate with our employees, such as monthly bulletin board and safety meetings. Our safety risk management requires us to identify hazards, assess risks, encourage reporting, categorize our risks, and then perform risk mitigation techniques to reduce unacceptable risk. Basically, we have to look at a risk and define, is it acceptable or is it unacceptable? If it's unacceptable, then we have to take action immediately. PARTA as a whole has been following these steps for years, but in a much less formal approach. For example, years ago, we created a lockout tagout system for maintenance so that a driver couldn't take a bus that was scheduled to be down for a mechanical issue. PARTA has always maintained a top-down level approach when it comes to safety and anything that we do here. We encourage an open door policy so that employees feel comfortable coming to us to communicate any concerns that they may have. PARTA also already complies with the risk assessment through our insurance carrier, OTRIP. Annually, we complete a risk management assessment with them that takes a deep dive into areas that could potentially have a risk. We dive into our hiring procedures, our maintenance program, our equipment, and our IT systems, all for potential risks. No matter what job you have here, there are potential risks. Whether you're a scheduler, there's a potential risk of releasing confidential health information of a passenger, or a mechanic has the equipment maintenance that they can't have fail. So no matter what position you have, there is risk here. Under safety assurance, we must say how we're going to monitor safety performance. And we do so such as random bus video footage review or vehicle inspection logs review. And then we have to document any issues we find to complete performance targets. In other words, how are we going to fix the actions to achieve a positive outcome? And finally, we have to promote the policy. This is where we train all of our staff on the plan and what everyone's responsibilities are in regards to safety. We incorporate enhanced training measures for key staff so that they can understand the SMS framework and understand the risks the organization faces and how to monitor those risks. So I said PARTA has been doing a lot of this already, just in a less formal approach. What this plan changes for us, and it changes the requirements of having a plan approved by the board and then having key employee designations. So Claudia will be the accountable executive for this. I will be designated as the chief safety officer. It also requires that we review this plan annually to make any updates or just sign off that we've reviewed it. Going to pose another audit requirement. Currently, it'll be in the triennial review process, but if the funding becomes available, it could have its own separate audit, just like drug and alcohol currently does. And then it will require enhanced performance measurement and communication with our employees. We'll have to revamp our safety committee we've had in place for years here, but we'll have to develop tools to bring them into the know of how many occurrences that we have so they can assess, maybe we need some more safety training in certain areas. And then, of course, there's lots of documentation that's going to follow. If you've looked at all the appendices, you'll see that we have a lot of documentation that we'll have to do. And then finally, we need to be able to send this plan, our targets, and our goals to ODOT and to AMATs beyond the FTA. Any questions?
Get it. I'll get it. Put it
So-
on purpose.
I have a question. Does OSHA fall under this plan as well, or is that kind of a separate plan?
So with a public employer, we're under PERP,
Okay.
which is a brother division of OSHA, but for public employers. So yes, that will fall under it too. Safety holistically. So anything that could be a safety concern, which would include workers' comp injuries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So in terms of, help me understand the difference between what we've always done and what we're doing differently. And you were talking about like, you were talking about, sorry,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. You were talking about like metrics,
Yes.
incident frequency. So have we set some of those benchmarks and goals?
Yeah, so in the appendix, we've created spreadsheets to start doing that. So after this plan gets approved, we will be going through and doing all of that. And we will look at the past 3 years of accidents, collision data, to kind of use those as our benchmark to go forward with. So there's going to be a lot of documentation that we need to create. Yeah, I did.
So should we approve the plan before that is created?
Well, so
We bite at the apple?
the processes are already created. Now it's just us going back and doing the formal
Goals?
approach of it, yes. But we have to get our plan approved to know how to put our goals together.
So does the board get the opportunity to look at the goals?
I can share those with you after they're done, but so what we're going to assess is our risk. So we have a risk assessment management system that we'll do to see what kind of risk, if it's high or if it's low. So in the wintertime, you have a higher risk of there being ice on the roads and there being more accidents with the ice on the roads. So that'll be a higher risk. How is it mitigated? It's
Oh.
with salt, weather, safe driving protocols that we put in place, encouraging safety before schedule, that kind of thing. So we have completed we completed this matrix actually in June on our system. So I have a sample that I could share with the board if we needed it, but for this plan, all you need is the outline of what we're going to be doing. Anything else?
Are there any other questions for Kelly?
I have a question on appendix E, the risk assessment matrix on the back side of it. It lists what the hazards are and what the score is. And I'm assuming a high score means it's a high risk, where a low score, a 2, for example, or 3 would be a low risk. Is that right?
You said D as in dog? Yes.
The back
Yeah.
side of that.
Yeah, a two is low risk, a 5 is, and a high is a high risk. So that's your fatalities, right?
So under operations, there are 2 of them that are 9s and 1 is an 8.
Mhm.
Why would those be high risk instead of medium risk? If not high?
So that's an example of what we've looked at. So with Kent State Service and all the people on the sidewalks and the pedestrians everywhere and the bicycles everywhere, that's a high risk driving around campus. So
On the previous page, orange is a medium risk.
it may be just the coloring, but yeah, you're right, it is. I gotta fix that. Thank you, Dave. It should be a medium risk, but he actually did, my safety and security manager did title that. He feels that that's a high risk based on pedestrian collisions.
So the color should be red.
Yeah, it should be red. It's just a color thing.
Okay.
Yes, you're right.
So what are we actually, approving? And then what would the board see again? I guess I want to make sure I understand the difference between the final product.
Sure, you're approving this plan. with all the different appendixes that we're going to use to assess our risk. And then we're going to use these appendixes that we assess our risk to give performance targets to for ODOT, for AMATs, for the FTA. It'll also be things that tools that we use in-house to develop our safety committee a little bit more thoroughly, to make sure that our safety message is congruent.
So we're approving, I guess, the start of that process.
You are right.
It just seems like something that should come back to us at some point, or be shared or presented to us so we know what the goals are.
Sure, and in our annual review of it next year, after we've got this under our belt, you'll be able to see that.
Okay.
If I could add to it a little bit, Karen, Kelly and I went down to Washington, D.C. Mid last year before COVID came about to go through a seminar through the FTA. SMS techniques have been used in rail for years. It's nothing new. You analyze, why the wheel fell off over and over and over again, and nobody paid attention to it. So SMS techniques were used in rail application for many years, and now the FTA is taking that same kind of analytical approach to events as they occur, and are making sure that the transits are going back and looking at that data and comparing that data to make sure that if there was something that could be adjusted. Kelly mentioned a lockout tagout procedure, which is pretty common now, but back in the 80s when I started in transit, there was no lockout tagout when it came to working on vehicles, and that's something that was brought about through an SMS kind of application. So what the FTA is saying now is that your SMS plan has to be taken to the board for their approval so they can see that you're putting an SMS plan together. And then as this plan continues to develop and the information starts to be kicked back off of this plan and what we're doing about these different events, falling in the parking lot seems like a small thing, but actually it's a pretty big thing if there's things that you can be doing to avoid it, like putting in pieces of sidewalk like we've done that's connected parking lots together, and lighting and things along those lines. So it's developing a better technique to dealing with problems that may get looked in the past, may have got looked past or through, and now you're taking a look at those events as they occur and applying some technique to it to mitigate those added expenses to the transit authority.
So does this plan actually, like you say, lockout, tagout, is that protocol and how it's communicated, the forms that you use, the tags, is that in here?
No.
Or that to be developed?
No, that's part of the risk assessment. So we assess a driver could get in a bus that's, and so this is part of the communication process with our employees. We don't put the things in this plan that drill down piece by piece, because that's not really a plan. That's more of a procedure, how we handle things. So this plan is more of your overview of what we look at. And the lockout tagout procedure is just one of the examples of the things that we do here to perform safety measures already and to make sure that we're minimizing risk. Anything else?
It just feels like we're approving it at a super high level,
You are.
really understanding what you're going to do.
Well, we've developed the safety policy, like the statements in there. We've developed how we're going to define our risks through the different appendixes that are in there. And if you read the plan, then you know our design is to promote a culture of safety and to communicate a culture of safety. Without spelling what those things are out, because that's going to change based upon your performance, your goals, your risks. So if you were to put all of those in here, you kind of box yourself in to risks change. We mitigate a risk, it removes it from there. Does that make sense?
Question. I have a question for you. So
Yeah.
basically, this is already budgeted into the new budget for safety. And this is just to establish procedures. So if something goes wrong, you have a paper trail as to what procedure you followed in getting at that point, correct?
Correct. But just budgetary wise, we don't expect necessarily to use any additional budgetary numbers for this plan. This is all stuff that we do in-house.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Kelly, is this kind of the format that PARTA has generally followed, that it's the board responsibility to pass and approve the policies, but it's the staff's responsibility to carry them out and to report them back and to be responsible to the board with the details? It's kind of the way we have handled most of the items that we've had, that the board sets the policy to give direction to the management, and then the management and staff handles the details.
Yes, I think it might be a little confusing because we're calling it a plan because that's what the FTA wants it called. And a plan doesn't sound as strong as a policy, but this is really a high-level policy document, a framework within which we can put our activities and our goals and our risk, ongoing living document risk mitigation. So we're not going to build in everything for you to approve tonight because we don't have it. It's going to change. That's going to be in procedures and in activities that we carry out as we continually assess our risks and document those risks back to the FTA in a formal way so that they can then come in during the trial review and assess whether we're doing what they're requiring us to do. To your point, Karen, you are approving this at a very high level because that's what FTA requires of a governing board. It is management's responsibility to carry out the policy or the plan that is required by FTA that we have in place. So you're not seeing everything because you don't see everything with any other policy either. Once the policies are adopted, procedures flow from those, and rules flow from those, and communication flows from those. So we don't bring it back every time because then you'd be doing management work. But it's always available if anyone wants to see it. It's just that these things, we do these every day, all day, and it doesn't require board approval once the policy is in place. As long as we're following it and we're following FTA guidelines. If FTA guidelines or regulations change, we would have to come back like we do with the ADA policy now and then. So that's, once the policy is approved, then we can update our procedures and be in compliance. When the regulation changes, we come back again. Does that help?
Yeah. Yep. Are there any other comments or questions? So at this point, can we move on? All in favor to move the resolution forward to the board?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, then we have a third resolution, number 2020-11-05, a resolution by the PARTA Board of Trustees authorizing the filing of an application with the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency for the 2020 Ohio Diesel Emissions Reduction Program. Is there a motion to approve the resolution to the board?
Motion to approve the resolution.
A second?
Second.
Thank you.
So this resolution, this is an easy one. We want to ask for money. We are going to apply for more money to fund bus replacement. The DIRG grant comes up every year, and it is only available to high priority counties for reducing emissions. We are one of those counties, and all the counties that we travel in are also in the priority list, being Summit and Cuyahoga. We were successful last year in getting funding for 2 clean diesel buses, and this year we're going to apply for 4 CNG replacement buses. There is
Wow.
more money dedicated to transit. I think it got moved from somewhere else. It's up to 10 million, so we have a good chance of getting some funding. So we would appreciate moving this forward so that we can submit the grant in early December. And what you're approving is that we're applying for funds. We're stating that we have the local match required to meet the grant requirements.
Great. Any questions or discussion for Claudia? Are we all in favor of moving this resolution forward?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so all 3 resolutions will go to the board. We do not have an executive session. So is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, 7:02.
I guess we're ready for our regular meeting. Marcia, are you ready? Hi, Marcia. We'll wait a few minutes. Those of you who are on, if you'd like to be seen, please check that. If everybody else would mute, and then when you need to talk, either hold down the space bar or hit unmute. We're getting better at this every month, aren't we?
Hopefully.
Okay, Marcia, let us know when we're ready.
We're ready if you want to call it to order.
I have a big gavel, so.
Good.
The meeting of the November 19th, 2020 Board of Trustees for PARTA will please come to order. Marcia, would you call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Beck,
Here.
Ms. Biergard,
Here.
Mr. Brockett, Mr. Brockett, I can see he's on.
He was here a minute ago.
Yeah, he still is.
Richard, can you unmute? Let's count him here.
All right. Mr. Childers,
Present.
Ms. Davison,
Here.
Mr. Ginn,
Here.
Mr. Lewis,
Here.
Mr. Mansfield,
Here.
Mr. Murphy,
Here.
Ms. Tipton,
Morgan Tipton, City of Kent.
Ms. Wise,
Here.
Yeah,
Mr. Wood,
Marvin Woods, City of Streetsboro. Here.
Mr. Vitale is connecting.
I'm here,
Oh, good. Okay.
but I'm not connected yet.
Well, we can hear you.
Okay.
Richard, can you hear us?
I don't know. I hear you.
Okay, we can hear you. Okay.
All right.
And thank you for those of you who remembered to announce where you're representing. I forgot that at the very beginning. Thank you.
Okay, now I'll do the roll for staff.
Thank you.
Ms. Amrine,
Claudia Amrine, General Manager, present.
Baba. I'm present. Ms. Jurish. Mr. Popick. Ms. Schrader. Mr. Troutman.
Brian Troutman, PARTA.
We have a quorum, so we can proceed. We need a motion to adopt the minutes from the October 22nd meeting, which everybody should have received. Very detailed.
Motion.
Meeting. Moved by Karen.
I'll
Second,
second.
I didn't see who second. Marvin,
yes, I guess.
are there any changes or any discussion? If not, then all in favor of approving the minutes, hold on your space bar and say yes.
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 Quick question.
Yes,
Are we without legal counsel tonight?
I believe we are.
Okay.
I believe we are without legal counsel.
We are, we've emailed him. We don't know why.
He may join us at some time. Thank you for asking. That should be noted in the minutes. Thanks. Because of COVID, we're not required to have guest communication, so we'll go to the general manager's report, which Claudia sent to you. Claudia, anything you'd like to add, or does anybody have any questions about her report?
I'll just note that I did mention that our Triana review process is back up and running again. And so once we complete tonight's meeting and the budget processing that we've been doing, the heavy lifting on these past weeks, we'll be moving into resetting on that and making sure we have all of our documents squared away that they're requiring us to provide instead of a on-site visit. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
The triennial review, just like the COVID, seems to go on and on and on, doesn't it?
It's the review that just won't end. Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to talk about the 5 resolutions, but does anybody have any questions about anything else on her report?
No.
If not,
No, I'd just like to thank her. I mean, everything is so clear in her report that it really gives a good setup for what's going to happen tonight. Thanks, Claudia.
Thank you.
And as always, if anybody has any questions when they read the report, don't hesitate to call. Claudia.
I have one
Yeah.
question.
Yes.
Last month, I thought I saw in the general manager's report that there were 2 employees with COVID. Was that one? Are they doing better now? And 2, was there any more cases?
But yes to both. Yes, all of our employees are doing well. We have had some positive cases as well as some quarantines due to people being exposed to positive cases, but we have not had any incident or event related to that. We've been able to keep our employees home during the time that they need to be home, and all are doing well. So thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Good question. Other questions? If not, then we'll move on. Does anybody know of any old business? Hearing none, we'll go to new business, and we have 5 resolutions. The first one is in Resolution 2020-11-01, a resolution by the Portage Area Regional Transportation Authority Board of Trustees approving the fiscal year 2021 proposed budget for PARTA. Can we have a motion to accept that?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I didn't see who that was.
Marge.
Mark, second?
I'll second it too if you want.
A second.
Hey, Debbie, seconded. Okay, This was discussed at the meeting on last Thursday. Mike, do you have anything you want to add to this?
We'll be right there.
Do you know what? I realized I skipped over the committee reports, didn't I?
And notice none of us corrected you because we were okay with that. But yeah, I do have some things probably that I could add.
Well, should we go back to the committee reports? And then, well, let's finish this since there's a motion on the floor. Okay, Mike,
No, I think I don't know the correct way to do this, Dave, but I would probably want to table this because it's approved from the finance committee. We haven't had a chance to talk about that yet. So for everybody to give vote without that discussion would be difficult.
okay, Mike will move that we table the discussion, the vote on this resolution. Is there a second to that motion that we table it?
I'll second that.
Thank you, RT. All in favor of tabling this for a few minutes until we hear the report from the finance committee, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign? No? Okay, thank you. That's my bad. I'm very sorry. Let's go back up to the committee reports, and we're going to start with Karen Wise, who met tonight with the administration committee.
I'll put you right back on schedule, Dave. The administration committee met. We had Marvin Woods and Jack Murphy filling in as voting members tonight. We heard and discussed 3 resolutions, and we have passed those all 3 to the board for consideration.
Okay. Any questions of Karen? We'll discuss those more when the resolution comes up. Thank you. Finance committee. Mike had a lengthy committee, a once-a-year budget meeting. Would you like to tell us about your meeting? You need to unmute.
I keep forgetting when I hit the space button, the little trick only hits if you hold the button. So we are going to do this a little different than normal. December's meeting will cover both October and November's monthly totals. I did review October, and it's much in line with what we've been doing. There's some things we'll point out, but we'll put both of those together for the December meeting and focus on the budget for 2021 for both PARTA and the Kent Gateway. And it's been called many things. I heard Claudia earlier say heavy lifting, and that's no understatement. I want to thank the board members that attended last Thursday to our finance committee. It is quite in depth, and you have in front of you that was sent to the summary basically of both PARTA and the Kent Gateway. If you take a second just to look at that, you have a lot of information on here. And in this year, with everything that's been going on, the more information, the better. Budgets are hard enough on a normal year with normal turns. But coming off a year that we have gone through and going into a year that there's going to be still a lot of unknown when it comes to what is normal, it took Rebecca and her team a tremendous amount of time. And they really laid things out pretty nicely. So you can see the budget for 2020, the projected actual for 2020 and the variance, and the proposed budget for 21. That's hard because you're looking back and you're saying, okay, 2020 is in the fare box line. We had $320,000. We're projecting 180. Well, that's above what this year was. However, it's not what 2020 was budgeted at, but we're going to have to adjust as we go. Rebecca took a very conservative approach to the budget. If you haven't had the opportunity to attend one of the budget meetings, this was my first because I hadn't been on the board for one of these before. Every cell that you see within this Excel spreadsheet leads to a formula, another page, a ton of information, and it is very in-depth. And we did go through close to 2 hours of talking, and it probably could have been easily 4 hours because there's just so much in here that they've been spending so much time on. It's surprising to me, but in order with what PARTA normally does, after you go through all revenues, which you can see the biggest one there is the federal operating, which was the CARES Act, which we don't know at this point what will happen. There's another bill out there, but we have no idea how that will affect us. So that's been completely taken out. And you have a proposed budget of revenues about 9.6, and oddly enough, total expenses are about 9.6. It's a very tight budget, very conservative budget. And that catches me off guard, but it is something that PARTA is used to. And if you ask Rebecca or anybody that's put time in this, how they came up with those numbers, she will wow you with what time they've taken on figuring out averages and figuring out, looking at the past and figuring out what, it was amazing to me. Contracts that are coming due, federal monies that are coming due. So it's not, it's just had a lot of time. And you can tell that because before the meeting today, there were the minutes for the meeting that were sent out. Normal minutes are somewhere in the 3-page range, give or take. I think, Rebecca, correct me, I think it was 9 pages. If you have any questions on the budget, you will find it within those 9 pages. If you do not find it, please reach out, call Rebecca, call me. I can find out if I don't know off the top of my head. A lot of information, a lot of numbers, and a lot of work. I would recommend to the board to take time to go through there. The more time you take, the more sense it will make. You can see to the right of this, you can tell every department and the numbers they turned in. These are very in-depth. If you go to the Kent Gateway, same process, a little different layout. And if you thought the $5,900 at the end of the year as a profit was tight, $174 is even a little more tight. So, and this one probably even more than the other one, we really are taking our best guess today. Both these budgets, as they always do, are going to have to be adjusted as we go through because they're going to change based on what's going on in our state, what's going on with COVID numbers and everything else. So I'm not going to go through that other than to tell you both are very tight budgets based on the best we can know with all the information we have today. Other than that, as I always do, Rebecca, if you'd like to add anything to that, please feel free. And if I don't hear anything.
I was in the back of the room, so I kind of snuck up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't have much to add, other than the fact that normally we don't adjust the budget, but during the year, next year, we would explain why there's a variance.
Yeah, fair enough. And I guess I'd ask a question then, and this is kind of off record or off topic, but those discussions could lead to changes in behavior that would affect the budget. So it may not be a reprojected budget, but you're making management decisions based on that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So those were the two which tie directly to the resolutions 2020-1101 and 2020-1102. The first one, 01, being the resolution for PARTA Board of Trustees approving the fiscal year budget. So we did authorize that to be moved forward to the board. And 2020-1102, which is the exact same thing when it comes to the Kent Gateway. And we also motioned that forward to the board with approval. So a lot of information, very long meeting, very informative. Thank you to Rebecca and her team for the time they put into this. I have to do budgets for my office and I don't like that time of the year, I'll be very honest. So thank you that you took the time to put this together.
Hey, thank you.
Any questions?
Any additional questions? Okay. Thank you very much. The Operations and Personnel Committee did not have a reason to meet. And I apologize for skipping over the committee reports. I'm very sorry for that. And I'd like to point out that this is where most of the work of the PARTA is done in the committees because they have time to thoroughly discuss all those. So it's a very important thing. If you haven't attended meetings, especially the budget meeting, I would urge you to find time to do so. Okay, we'll move back to the resolutions, and I wish our counsel were here, but I have Robert sitting next to me in his rule book. And I think from what I'm reading, I'm suggesting that we need a motion to return the tabled motion back to discussion.
Okay, I'll make it.
Okay.
Now, second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we take the tabled motion, which was the adoption of Resolution 2020-1101. And so that is now on the table. So that has been moved and seconded, and now that resolution is open for discussion. You heard what Mike had to say. You have a very two-page copy. Does anybody have any other questions at all? If not, then let's have a roll call vote on resolution 2020-1101.
Mr. Woods,
Make a motion.
No, the motion has been made. We're ready now for voting.
I approve.
Ms. Wise,
Yes.
Mr. Vitale, Mr. Vitale,
Frank, can you unmute?
Ms. Tipton,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Ms. Harris, Ms. Harris, Ms. Davison,
Yes.
Mr. Childers,
Yes.
Mr. Brockett,
Yes.
Ms. Biergard,
Yes.
Ms. Beck,
Yes.
Mr. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Ginn.
Yes. Ms. Harris, are you online now? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you very much. The next item is resolution 2020-1102. A resolution by the Portage Area Regional Transportation Authority Board of Trustees approving the fiscal year 2021 proposed budget for the Kent Central Gateway. We need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Thank you, RT. A second?
I'll second it.
This is similar to the other motion. It has been discussed and approved by the Budget Committee. Are there any other questions at all? If not, then could you please call the roll?
Ms. Davison,
Yes.
Mr. Childers,
Yes.
Mr. Brockett,
Yes.
Ms. Biergard,
Yes.
Ms. Wise,
Yes.
Mr. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Ms. Wise, or I already called you, sorry. Mr. Vitale, Mr. Vitale, Ms. Beck,
Yes.
Ms. Tipton,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Ms. Harris, Ms. Harris, Mr. Ginn.
Yes. That motion is approved. Thank you very much. The next three resolutions have all been discussed by the Administration Committee at their meeting tonight. The first is Resolution 2020-11-03, a resolution by the Portage Area Regional Transportation Authority Board of Trustees authorizing the general manager or her designee to enter into an agreement with Richard L. Bowen and Associates for architectural and engineering services.
I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Karen, do you have, what would you like to add or somebody from the PARTA staff?
Sure, I can give a quick overview. This award will be for an architecture and engineering services contract. And in accordance with the FTA regulations, this kind of a service must be competitively evaluated through a request for qualifications, which is different than a request for proposals. We evaluate their qualification to do the job and then identify that the best qualified and negotiate price from there. Fortunately, we were able to negotiate successfully with the firm that we rated the highest. They've provided professional rates for all of the services that will be engaged. And so once this contract is awarded, we'll be able to start working with them on specific phases of the projects I've outlined and come up with the number of hours and the cost for each task order that we issue with them. So this will help us build out our current campus plan. The storage facility that is now completed will be built out with some areas for storage and a fitness room. And then we also we have to design that first and also design the driver CDL training pad. Once those projects are designed, Richard L. Bowen's staff will work with us to help bid those out and award those contracts and then perform follow-along services while the construction is underway. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, anybody?
One question. Has this firm in the past, have they worked with like transportation projects in the past?
Yeah, in fact, they've worked with us in the past. The Bowen Group designed our maintenance bay renovation that needed to be done prior to building a CNG fueling station and acquiring CNG vehicles. So they were the firm that won that contract. They designed the retrofit, they designed the CNG fueling station. And so we are familiar with them. Out of the 4 firms that proposed, they have the best transit portfolio. They do a lot of transit work, so we're comfortable with that. And we're happy that they proposed.
Thank you.
Good question. Other questions? If hearing none, we'll call for a roll call to approve this resolution.
Mr. Vitale? Ms. Tipton?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis? Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Harris? Ms. Harris? Ms. Davison?
Yes.
Mr. Childers?
Yes.
Mr. Brockett?
Yes.
Ms. Biergard?
Yes.
Ms. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Mansfield?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Ms. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Ginn?
Yes. Motion resolution 2020-1103 has 03 has passed. Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge Justin Markey appears to be on now. I don't see you, but I see your name. Justin, are you with us? There you are.
I'm on. I apologize for that.
Thank you. The next item is resolution 2020-11-04, a resolution by the Portage Area Regional Transportation Authority Board of Trustees adopting the Public Transit Agency Safety Plan as required by the Federal Transit Administration. You need a motion for that approval.
I'll make it.
I second.
It's been made and seconded, and everybody should have received in your minutes. It's a 20 plan without 10 pages of supplemental material. Karen, do you want to talk about it? Do you want Kelly to mention a few items? This is something that the committee spent quite a bit of time talking about.
I would defer to Kelly, and maybe just hitting the highlights of, how this is different from what we normally do.
Okay, good point. Kelly?
Okay.
Everybody has a copy of the plan, so Kelly will hit the highlights of why we're doing this.
This is a plan as much as it is a policy, but the FTA wants it to be called a plan. So this is our Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, and it requires us to look at safety in a holistic approach through a safety management system. It's really about our policy, how we communicate safety through safety promotion, how we define safety risks, and how we assure our safety performance. So this policy or this plan is created to implement the appendixes that you've seen that's attached to the plan. Those appendixes guide our work to define our safety risks. So very high level plan, and then we create the procedures or the meat that goes into this plan.
Okay, this affects virtually every aspect of PARTA's operation, doesn't it?
It does. Very holistic. So we talk.
Questions from anyone? Any additions? If not,
I have a question. What actually is the difference between the policy and the plan for us?
Well, to you guys, it's really the same. It's a high level approach. A policy is what we use to guide our work, and then we implement procedures for the day-to-day operations. So this plan, again, is the same thing as a policy, but it is the wording that the FTA wants.
Any reason why they want that? Does it make it more flexible?
Well, safety is kind of flexible in the terms of everything is looked at as safety, but there will be a risk that we could potentially mitigate and take away so that you don't have that risk anymore through different safety measures. So in that terms, it can be flexible, but it's the same concept.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
good. Other questions? If not, then can we have a roll call to approve 2020-11-4?
Ms. Wise? Ms. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale? Mr. Vitale? Ms. Tipton? Ms. Tipton?
Unmute.
She's not there. Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Harris? Ms. Harris? Ms. Davison?
Yes.
Mr. Childers?
Yes.
Mr. Brockett?
Yes.
Ms. Biergard?
Yes.
Ms. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Mansfield?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Mr. Ginn?
Yes. That resolution is approved. And the final resolution tonight is 2020-11-05. The resolution by the Portage Area Regional Transportation Authority Board of Trustees authorized the filing of an application with the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency for the 2020 Ohio Diesel Emission Reduction Grant Program. We need a motion to approve.
Motion.
Aaron moves.
I'll second. Dave?
Aaron Wise, second. Discussion. Claudia?
Sure. This is an easy one. We are applying for grant funding to support replacement of our buses. We've received DIRG funding in the past. It is an Ohio grant that is available only to priority counties who are on target to reduce diesel emissions. Last year, we were awarded funding for 2 buses. This year, there's a little more funding available at the amount of 10 million, and we're going to apply for 4 CNG replacement buses.
What's that total, Claudia, in dollars for CNG buses roughly? 500,000?
Oh, it's 2.4 million.
2.4 million.
Yeah, they're just over 500 change.
Is the 10 million just for those 3 target counties, or 10 million is across the state?
No, it's across the state for any priority county. So that's why we have a pretty good chance of getting something, because not every county is eligible.
What makes you a priority county?
EPA evaluates and determines that we have higher levels of emissions than we should have.
Oh, so that's not a good thing. Okay.
It's kind of being on the bad list, but then you get money to fix it, I guess.
Is it all the counties with E-check are on that list?
It is.
Okay.
Good luck. We hear about DIRG all the time, and now you know what it is. Any other questions? If not, then we'll have a roll call to approve Resolution 2020-11-5. Marcia?
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Ms. Harris, Ms. Harris, Ms. Davison,
Yes.
Mr. Childers,
Yes.
Mr. Brockett,
Yes.
Ms. Biergard,
Yes.
Ms. Beck,
Yes.
Mr. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Ms. Wise,
Yes.
Mr. Vitale, Mr. Vitale, Ms. Tipton,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Ginn.
Yes. That resolution passes. Thank you very much. I don't think there's a need for an executive session unless you decide the president is really screwing things up and you need to elect somebody else. And I'm sorry for the lover, but we got on okay. If there's no other business, we need a motion for adjournment.
So made.
Second.
Mike? Been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. That motion passes. Thank you very much.